Once you have created your swatch, it's important that the object that you're putting the swatch on has a fill initially. So let me just move this one out of the way and show you what I mean. Because if I put that swatch on top of there, you can see that it's see-through, and I can't put this in front of the parquet flooring there. So I need to give that a fill first of all. So whatever colour you want. And then you can put the swatch on top there. Okay, obviously that red colour doesn't really work. So choose a different colour. And then we can put that swatch on top there. Okay, like that. There is a third way that you can create flooring, and you can just copy and paste an image onto there. The only problem with using an image is that sometimes the image, the proportion of the image doesn't really match with the scaled down version of the plan, because the plan, remember, is 1 to 100, which is 100 times smaller than the real cafe. So let me just show an example for you. So you might search for the texture. Okay, so you might find something like this. And you might think, oh, that's nice, I like that. So I'm going to copy and paste that onto my plan. Like that. Now that looks quite nice, but if you think about that in proportion, that really doesn't work in terms of scale. So you've got to be very careful with the kind of image that you use. Okay, so you can use that, and you can use the same tools of putting that behind or in front of the walls and the doors that you've created already. So you can just go to Object again and Arrange up at the top there. And oh no, I've sent that too far back. Okay, like that. Okay, so you can do that, but just be careful of the kind of, proportion that you use. One other thing that you can do as well is you can use some of the drawing tools if you want to, and you can create textures by using the drawing tool. Let me think of an example. So maybe you want to create a kind of maybe just an abstract kind of pattern. So you can, if you want to, use any of the drawing tools. So you could use the paintbrush if you wanted to. You could use the pen if you wanted to. You could use some shapes if you wanted to. You could use any of those tools. What is quite nice is the pencil tool. You might need to experiment with this, and you can just draw, I don't know, some shapes or some lines in whatever colour you choose to make a pattern. And you could create, if you wanted to, your own kind of wood grain pattern. You can vary the thickness of the lines. So you can do things like this. Selecting them all by holding down Shift. You might want to group those together. Control G. And then I can change the line. So I could go from a basic line to, there's some different choices here. So a sort of splodgy line like that, or a blurry line like that, which doesn't really work, or there are different shape lines like this. So there's all sorts of things that you can do, and you can experiment with that if you want. You can also change the thickness of the line. You can change the color. So we might go for something, let's see, maybe like that. So you can start to create a really quite nice pattern. The other thing that you can do is you can copy and paste these and move them, copy and paste those and move them around to create whatever pattern you want to. So I could move these around. We could copy and paste that. So there's all sorts of ways of creating your own pattern. Okay, so you can really start to experiment with whatever you want to. The other thing that you can do is you can create a pattern which is similar to making a swatch, and again that pattern could be made up of lines, shapes, whatever you want. So let's just think of something that you could have, I don't know. Could be anything. It can be filled. It could be not filled. So you could have a shape like that if you wanted that to be filled. Let's give it a and we could fill it in that colour if we wanted to, or we could just leave it as lines. Entirely up to you. And then we could make that into a pattern. So you select it, it's kind of similar to a swatch, and you go to Object and down to Pattern, and then Make. Now there's lots of different things that you can adjust in the pattern when you make a pattern. So this is a bit more complex than making a swatch. So it can be a grid. It can be different overlapping edges, and you can experiment with that if you wanted to. So if I wanted to, it could be just a grid like that. It could be like that. It's kind of like a brick pattern, or it could be a hexagon type pattern. I think I'm going to go for that one. You can change the width of the pattern here. You can change the way it overlaps. You can change the amount of copies that you have. So here it's 5 by 5, 9 by 9, etc., etc. There's lots of things that you can do there. And then that pattern has been put into our swatches panel there. Just click the arrow to exit that pattern editing mode and go back into your drawing. And then you can use that pattern like you use the swatch to fill any area of your pattern. Okay, so sorry, any area of your plan. So just drag the fill onto the fill over there, and look, you see that it's changed the fill into my pattern. And then as I drag this, it will fill the pattern there. Okay, so this one you can see that the pattern is changing in size as I drag the shape out. With the swatch, it's kind of a similar thing. Okay, so those are just two ways that you can make patterns for your flooring.